Hi dentists, this video is just for you. In this video, I'm going to explain how to approach a writing task, how to use your 5 minutes reading time effectively, how to demonstrate the 6 assessment criteria in your writing, how to use the sample answer provided, and how to learn from completed writing tasks. So let's get started. The dental writing test includes 3 possible types of letter: referral, transfer or discharge. The reader of your letter could be to a few different healthcare professionals. For example, dentist to dentist, dentist to dental specialist, dentist to doctor, etc. Until you turn over the test booklet at the start of the reading time, you don't know which scenario it's going to be. The most important point is to be prepared to be flexible to meet any one of these letters and readers. Every patient is different. Their social background, their medical history, their current situation, these will all be different. Just like you wouldn't speak to each patient you meet during your working day using the same language and expressions, you need to be ready to use language and paragraph structure to make your letter personalised to this patient and this situation. Only then will you be demonstrating to the assessors that you have the English required to score a B grade or higher. Turning over the test booklet, there are 3 things you want to check as a priority. Although you cannot highlight or make any marks on your test booklet in the reading time, I'm going to highlight these 3 things so that you can clearly see what my eyes are looking at and can follow the approach yourself. The first 2 pieces of information are provided at the end of the case notes, so go straight there first. Who are you writing to and what is their job role? So in this example, we can see that we're writing to Ms. Dennis, who is the nurse in charge at the Stillwater Retirement Village where the patient lives. Secondly, what are you writing to her about? So here we can see that you are recommending closer supervision of her oral care. Back at the start of the case notes, you will find the 3rd piece of information. So we can see that Mrs. Georgias is a regular patient at your clinic. Before I start reading the case notes from the beginning, I want to make sure I have completely understood the reason for writing the letter. So another good place to check for any detail about this is in the last information in the case notes. Checking this, I can find a few extra details. So my letter is going to mention the patient's denture stomatitis, as well as the staff support of her denture care, including that it should be removed nightly, cleaned and left in a clean, dry container. From these details, I can understand I'm updating the nursing manager about my concerns for Mrs. Georgias' oral care needs. With this in mind, and remembering the specific reasons for writing this letter, to recommend closer supervision of Mrs. Georgias' oral care, I can start reading through the case notes line by line, deciding whether each one is relevant to the reader or not. To help make the decision, I will ask myself 2 questions each time. Is this case note relevant to the current situation? And will this case note affect how the reader continues care for the patient? If the answer to both questions is no, I can omit this information. But if the answer to either question is yes, I will need to include this information somewhere in the letter. In the reading time, you have to make mental notes as you read the notes for your understanding. I'm going to highlight the notes which I pick out to be relevant. So the patient's name and date of birth are both going to be part of the standard RE line of the letter, but of course the address is irrelevant. All of the social, background, allergies and medical history would already be known by the reader and are not relevant to the current condition, so can be omitted. The dental chart would be an important point of reference for the dentist, and in particular, details relating to her dentures. But the rest of the chart details and the dental history are not relevant to the current condition. The next heading, Last Dental History, includes a date. So I skim down this column to see which other dates have been included to get a sense of the timeline, which is going to be important for me to clearly communicate Mrs. Georgias' history to the reader. Just 2 dates are covered 6 months apart, in February and in August. This helps me think about the structure. I won't be covering the information chronologically because there isn't enough details in the first visit, so instead I will opt for a thematic structure. The February visit mentions the presence of denture stomatitis and that the patient was advised to remove the dentures at night. At today's appointment, the reason for the visit is revealed as the dentures being uncomfortable and that there is itchiness on the roof of the mouth. The examination details are not relevant to the current condition until we get to the palate examination, which mentions that denture stomatitis has remained and there has been no improvement. The patient mentions that she requires assistance to remove her dentures, but says that the staff of the retirement village don't help her with this, and therefore she is not removing her dentures at night. The treatment section doesn't relate to the dentures, but in the plan section, the dentist mentions that they will review in 1 week, and if there is no improvement, that antifungals may be required. The type of prescription is not relevant at this point, so can be omitted. Having reached the end of the case notes and talking myself through the situation, I now feel I have a good understanding of Mrs. Georges's history, but also how I'm going to structure my letter. If I still have time left out of the 5 minutes reading time, I would read through everything again carefully, reminding myself of the decisions I just made. Once the writing time starts, I would now underline those notes which I highlighted so I have a clear record of the information I want to include in my letter. I would also turn to the blank page on the back of the answer booklet and make a very rough plan of my letter structure. In my introduction, I will explain that I am writing to request closer supervision of Mrs. Georges's oral care. In the middle paragraphs, I will cover the denture stomatitis and the patient's reports that she is not getting the assistance she needs to remove her dentures. In the final paragraph, I will include the specific requests for staff and the possible treatment plan should it be needed. I'm now ready to start writing. I have a clear plan in my mind, and it should be easy to record all the information in the 35 minutes I will have left and still keep some of the time to check my work at the end. I'm not going to write the whole letter for you now, but just to point out a few things. Opening my answer booklet, I'm going to start with the reader's name and the address, which I can copy directly from the writing task. Underneath this, I will add the date, which is today in the case notes, the 30th of August 2019. Next comes my greeting, Dear Ms. Dennis, followed by the RE line. And remember, the order of the greeting and the RE line can be reversed if you prefer. In this RE line, the patient's name, Mrs. Helen Georges, and her date of birth, 23/03/1931. Then will come the body of my letter, the paragraphs. The introduction, introducing the reason for writing, then the dentures paragraph, the problem paragraph, and finally the specific request and treatment paragraph. Underneath all of this, I will add my ending, yours sincerely, and finally my job title, dentist. As you write the paragraphs, think about how you will summarize the information. The aim is not to write one case note per sentence, but to combine details to provide an efficient record of the situation for the reader. Once you have finished writing, use any time you have left to check your letter against the case notes you underlined to make sure you have included everything you identified was relevant. Read it as the nurse in charge. By the end of the letter, do you understand Mrs. Georges's situation and what you need to do for her? If necessary, make edits to your letter if anything needs clarifying or adding. Now you have your completed letter, it's time to look at the sample answer. There are some important things to remember with sample letters for official OET tasks. They have been written and checked by both language experts and a dental subject matter expert to make sure they are accurate medically and linguistically. That doesn't mean they are perfect or seen as the only way to write a letter about these case notes. You might have used slightly different language or structure to your letter. Provided you have communicated the situation as per the task clearly to the reader, this will not be a problem. When reading the sample answer afterwards, notice the similarities and differences. If there are any differences, rather than seeing it as something that has to be corrected in your letter, think about why it is different. Why do you think the writer used this word or phrase? Is it more formal? Does it allow them to summarize some detail more effectively? Why do you think they structured their letter like this? Is there any difference in clarity between your version and their version? I want to finish off by giving you a few tips about how you can get the most out of this set of case notes after you've written the letter. Don't just discard this task and letter and move straight on to another task. Take time after each practice letter to learn from it and avoid making the same mistakes next time. Here are 5 things you can do to get the most value out of each practice task you complete. Assess your writing and the sample answer against the assessment criteria. The criteria are free to download from the OET website and contain both a description of the 6 criteria you are assessed on, as well as the evidence of what the assessors are looking for to be able to score you at the different levels. Take each criterion in turn, read the evidence statement for each level, and critically decide which statement is the best match for your writing. Type your letter into a document and check your language and grammar by using free tools such as Grammarly or spell checker grammar functions built into your word processing software. Notice the mistakes that are picked up and use them to create your own checklist of common errors to learn from. Rewrite your letter so you have a perfect copy to refer to as you revise. If you keep looking at your original letter with the mistakes in it, you are training your brain to remember the mistakes. Having a perfect copy to revise from will help improve the accuracy of your writing. Use the case notes as the basis for a speaking role play. Imagine you are having a conversation with Mrs. Georges in August. Ask a friend or colleague to play Mrs. Georges's role while you find out about her denture care and recommend next steps. Search the internet for podcasts on denture stomatitis or medical journal articles covering recent developments in the treatment of the condition to practice your skills for the reading and listening parts of the test. Remember, with the right approach, the writing test is something everyone can do well. For more videos and test strategies, follow our social media channels on Facebook, YouTube and Instagram @officialoet and search the OET blog available on our website.